Hey guys, this is just a quick video to show you what you should have disconnected before pulling a Subaru engine. I'm going to give you the tour. You got your fuel lines to disconnect here, vacuum line that goes to the power brake booster. You can pull it here, but I just like to do it this way because that way I don't tear up a grommet if it's old or something that's harder to come by. Plastic gets brittle. Try not to explain in detail too much why I do what I do, but bear in mind there's reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. I pull off the radiator assembly, I leave the condenser in. You can pull that too if you're nervous about it. Get everything off that you need to get off to get the power steering pump and the AC compressor. The reason why is you don't have to evacuate the AC system. You can see all these lines are connected, and I basically just put it up here. I would love to be able to put it where the battery is, but the plumbing isn't such to where that's very feasible. These green bungees seem to be the right length to lasso everything in. You got to pull back the hose, and you've also got to get the compressor to stay up on the fuse box. If this line were longer, you could dump it into here, and that'd be nice, but as it is, I lasso it around the mirror. Don't do the top outside part of the mirror. It won't be long enough with the green one. It just won't hold well. We've got heater hoses that have to be removed. Signal wire, sorry, for the starter. I just pull the starter out completely because it shares bolts. The positive terminal and the ground terminal. There's a little plate that looks like this. It goes on the bolt that holds the bell housing together with the transmission. Transmission and engine both have bell housings on Subarus. Weird. You can see this one's a manual transmission. I've got the slave cylinder for the clutch undone. So these are 14mm bolts. These are all the back side of this is. This is 12. When I have a 14 on, I just go nuts. Just bang, 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 bang. I do the bell housing ones last because they usually wind up being pretty stuck. And I leave this one on in the bottom. I actually put that back in after the starter's out. And it's not the one from here, it's the one from further down. There's nuts on the bottom side. You've got 6 long bolts and 2 nuts basically. You can see I've got 3 here and a nut, and then these are my dog bone bracket stuff. Don't worry about how this goes. It's symmetrical. You can do it this way or this way. That doesn't matter, just as long as this points forward. So I just get it out completely. I get some flack from some people about staining oil or whatever here. I don't worry about that. If you're worried about it, you can wipe it down with some alcohol or cleaner, and then follow with glass cleaner. It's no big deal. This saves a ton of time, keeps everything organized, so I do it. My lift points for this are the AC compressor / alternator bracket, and then also the bracket back here. There's a bracket that's on one of your bolts. You can see that these have been kind of abused, so that they're not going to hold the plug anymore. That was like that when I found it. But you can take that bolt out and leave everything connected. You don't have to abuse those. This connector, what you see here, the release for it's on the front, and then you just see it just kind of pushing on that. So anyway, you push that down, move this forward, and then this big connector you can hook behind your AC lines. Other things on this side, you've got your air box off, and that's to give access to everything that you need here. Take your PCV hoses and you hook them around your plug wires or hook them into your intake manifold. Just try to keep everything together on the engine or hooked into something here. You'll notice that the power steering is gone, and also the air filter box and the echo box or noise dampening box, fully constructive interference box, whatever you want to call it, is gone. I put the AC compressor and bracket in there. So this bracket's got a couple of bolts on the front and one on the back. I put that down in that hole, and it is so out of the way. See, all the lines are tucked nice and clean, nice and clear to be back there. Other things that you pull off, obviously the alternator. This AC bracket comes off the vehicle completely so that you can get your compressor bolts. Let's revisit that for a sec. So when I pull the AC compressor, you can see on the modern ones, you've got 3 bolts. You've got a bolt that comes through here. The bracket will be right here. This has been turned over. You just get everything off so that you can get to the bolts. There's 3 bolts that hold this one on, just like the old school ones. There's one down here by where the rod was thrown. I'm going to give you a quick peek at that. See that busted metal right there? That's where a connecting rod went through the engine block. You can see a bunch of oil. That's why we're doing this one. So there's this bolt here, this one here, and this one in the front. when you put them back on, just hand tighten them and just kind of go in an order to where you're kind of tight, and then go back in and retorque them. If you have one of them really tight, it's going to have trouble lining up. And where these are threaded into the engine block, you can really shoot yourself in the foot if it's not lined up and you force a bolt in, say with an impact or something. That'll just chew the crap out of everything and ruin your day. Don't do that. Hand tight, kind of tight, full tight.
Good and tight.
Outside of that, I've got the exhaust hanging down. You know, it's basically on the hanger that's back by the transmission. You can see that the engine's kind of flopping. It's not really being held by this, but it's being held by a jack stand under there. We're going to visit that in a minute. I try to sling my chain as low as I can so that I have as much lift as I can with my cherry picker. I've got my prop rod in use, but I've also got the, you can see that red strap going across here. That red strap's tied up to the hood there. But then I also have this, so I've got 2 points across from each other so the hood doesn't get excessive abuse, damage, or whatever. Subaru hoods, they used to be able to go back all the way, now they kind of don't. But at least they did give us this, so I really appreciate that. Make sure that you're hooked in down like that. That's bad news if you're not, because if that fails and this is up, there's potential for it to dent here maybe. I don't know. I'm just careful anyway. I love this connector. Japanese manufacturers, because they have their emissions laws where their engine goes 50,000 miles and it's out of here, they consider it worn out, high emissions, whatever. I think it's an economic stimulus, like cash for clunkers, honestly. But as a result, we get these beautiful, wonderful plugs where everything disconnects so cleanly. I absolutely love that. So we talked about PCV hoses. There's one on each side. This bracket stays on the transmission. You can pull it off if you want. If you look down there close, you can see it's got a bolt down there and another one here. That can make it a little easier for doing your starter motor. But if you've got the extensions and tools and wobble connections or whatever, you don't have to worry about pulling that off. Let's go down below. So this is my LED light. I'll leave a link in the description. I think these are like 40 or 50 bucks. They're feet electric. I mean, this bears mentioning as much as anything else. I use these all the time. It gives great lighting for filming. I just take coat hangers, I make my own hooks. You can see I've got one that's just kind of a J-hook, and then the other one's more aggressive. I find almost every car I can hook into with these. Oh, by the way, all of the bell housing bolts, even the nuts down there, I pull from the top. That's a little secret for you. As I said, the exhaust is hanging down. These are the bolts that go through the bottom there. That's the input shaft to the transmission. You'll notice that the angles are different. If you look close, this one's leaning back and this one's leaning forward. If I'd have got a little bit further forward on my chain, I'd have had a better balance. This is level. This is great for craning around the shop, but what it requires is as I pull it out, because of the angle, the engine's actually going uphill, so I have to match that with the handle crank. So I'll go forward, it binds, go up a little, forward, binds, up a little, forward, up, and so on. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on this or these. You don't want to bend them. So you just have to have a little finesse and just be real aware of your angles and that you have to do that. And the reason why you have to do that is this is on a jack stand. It's tipped up. And if you don't tip it up, then you're going to have conflict where your motor mounts go in right here. See that oval opening? So we're having to mind the bolts to get them up out of that. It makes it a little bit tricky, but if you realize what's going on, like I say, if you're real mindful about it, it's no problem at all. Let's go up the rest of the way. Let's get her done. Play some happy frickin' music. All the positivity I can get. Look how clear that is. We're gonna do a matrix shot where we go all the way around the sucker. So we're gonna pause in time and just kind of give you the tour all the way around just because it's fun. I don't care how many engines you've pulled. If you still have the passion for working on stuff, it's always fun to see how things look, you know, when everything's done. So my exhaust, it's all right there. When you look down here, you can see my jack stand underneath the transmission right there. Just holding that sucker up, doing a great job. It'd be a good idea to change the clutch or the throwout bearing. Here how dry that throwout bearing is. Flywheel on this one looks awesome. New motor's got 72,000 miles. It's easy to spot. This is pretty clean, and this one's just blown all the crap. I don't know if you can see the brake, you know, from the thrown rod on this side, but yeah, you can see a little bit of a hole right there. Blown right open. Knock knock, who's there? Connecting rod, woohoo, peekaboo. The best way to say thanks is poke subscribe right in the face and then click the little bell. If you want to be notified, you can be notified too. Thanks. And if you want to know what I'm working on and what videos are coming down the pipe, be sure to check me out on Instagram and Facebook.